A very pleasant good evening to you all, my dear participants. It's a joy meeting you all on this occasion of this webinar series on ESG Simplified. I'm very happy to note that what we have started as a national level seminar has turned out into an international seminar or webinar with participants gathering here from all over the world, even from outside India. This speaks of how important this topic is, how vital and what value this carries. ESG Simplified is the topic, and introducing myself, I'm Dr. C.M. Vivek Vardhan. I'm the head of research and implementation at Zenith Energy Services, Kachibauli, Hyderabad. I'm here to brief you about environmental, social, and governance aspects of any industry or company which would lead it and steer it to success. Now, this ESG has become the language of the business in modern times because resources are available everywhere. AI has brought about a paradigm shift, and the winner is the one who makes the difference, who shows how he is unique. Now, this series of lectures, which we are planning to be taken on every Tuesdays and Thursdays, is a guide for you, a training session where it will spot the problems, pressure points, difficulties being faced by industries and companies. We have entered the ecosystems of companies. We have analyzed industries and companies and seen where they face problems, where the bottlenecks are, how they are not able to make up to the top. In spite of this ESG being made mandatory, in spite of the compliance being there as BRSR, mandated by SEBI for the top 1,000 companies, only a few are able to make it to the extent competent or agreeable. So we have researched this and found that there were a few common aspects where companies are commonly falling short of. And we have focused on building a webinar series to address those shortcomings so that companies can prosper and we can stand on par with the top leading companies in the world, industries of the world. Global level standards can be attained and maintained. So this is not just a lecture here, it's a practical guide. We have planned this strategically for 15 sessions. This is built for results. We are focusing here on values. We are not going to start into jargons now. I'm not going to make this first session full of technical terms, and I'm not going to make it scientific and make it tough. I'm going to lead you simply. I'm going to take you from a layman. I'm starting from a layman's perspective. So this is practically built for each and every company, each and every industry in India. Each and every CEO, CFO will find this course of series useful. The coming 14 sessions will give a clarity of thought on what this ESG is, how you can proceed, how you can win, and how we can become global leaders. So I will be a facilitator for you in your journey. Going forward, this is how I have framed this session of 1 hour. So the reality check of what actually success means will be dealt with in the first 10 minutes, because success is not the same as it was earlier. Now it is different, and I'll tell you what it is, and what ESG is, why it is, what are the forces or the pillars on which this ESG, environmental, social, and governance, stand. And the next 15, this will be for the 20 minutes. And for the next 15 minutes, we'll be seeing the business cases. And we'll be seeing how companies following this ESG would have a competitive advantage over the others which don't. ESG is going to pay. It is not going to demand. It is not a cost. It is not a liability. If followed properly, it will become an asset. It will lead you. These aspects will be briefly covered in the next 15 minutes. And for the next session, Thursday session, what would be the discussion, a roadmap ahead, that I'll be briefing you in the last 10 minutes. And of course, we'll be having a interactive session where we'll be seeing what you have in your minds and how I can be of help to you in addressing them. Now, I'm taking a case here. Say a company is there or an industry which had made massive profits, hit records for this 1 year or the past 2 or 3 years, but it is not paying any importance to its environment. It treats its employees poor, extracts work from them, exploits, doesn't treat its employees properly. And it has a board of members which hides the truths on which the company functions. It doesn't reveal, it doesn't have a transparency of what it is doing. Now, will this stand for long in the future? How many years will this success thrive? Will it be there for the next 5 years, for the next 10 years? Will the company still be successful and stand? Will it stand sustainably? So this is a question which is not so easily answerable. You have to go and dig into the practicalities, the realities and facts. Because success is success only when it is able to stand for long, stand over a good length of time, forever, we should say. This is what we call sustainability. It should sustain its success. It might have seen success in 1 year, 2 years, and for the next 2 or 3 years, if it falls down into depths, negative, then what would be the use? Slow success, prolonged success, taken over a period of time and giving huge profits both for the company as well as its employees, environment. This is what we call as real success, sustainable success. So here comes the term sustainability. This ESG all stands on sustainability. By definition, sustainability means, as you all know, meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So, too is the case with businesses, companies, industries. So, too is the case with each and every employee who works there, be he at the top level, she at the top level, or at the bottom level. Now, as you are seeing, success definition has changed. It is not just about shareholder capitalism, it is about stakeholder capitalism as well. It's not the profit alone for the company, it's the profit for the company, for the people, for the planet, the earth. Wholesome success. That is what we call success now. So the old measure of success where the business alone profits, the company alone profits, and there ends the matter, has changed now. The stakeholders, the clients, the customers, the planet, everything should become successful. It's a win-win situation. You win, I win, we win. And we take this planet forward. We take this sustainable development. Right. So this is the case which you should be looking into. Fast forward into 10 years. Will your business model still be profitable in a world with stricter carbon regulations? Because carbon regulations are becoming compliant now. It is not voluntary, mandatory it has become. And the workforce will become vocal. They would not accept whatever is implied on them, whatever is rubbed on them. They would claim their rights to their own selves. And ethics are also important. So with all these in place and expected to increase in future, how our business still is going to do good, how it is going to stand as a future proof business. The strategy of staying in business for the long haul is all about ESG. In short, ESG is not just about making money, it is about values, it is about ethics, it is about sustainability, it's about success for the stakeholder, for the company, for the planet. This would make a long term success for all. So, taking going to the first part, ESG is a risk and opportunity framework. This is there visible before everybody, but still it is not visible. That's why we call this a framework hiding in plain sight. Appears to be visible, but is not yet visible clearly. What is it? The risks and opportunities. This is what is made clear, delineated in ESG Part 1. It's a framework. ESG is not a field. So, as you all know, ESG is about environmental, social, and governance. We'll see what these aspects are. These are the three pillars. Simple terms, in simple terms, not going into the jargons or into the scientific, technical business terms. Environmental is about climate, about resources, and about how the wastes are managed. Simple. Social aspects, how are people treated, or the proper rights due to them given? Is there diversity in the workforce? Is everybody given equal opportunity? Is there safety in a company or an industry where people work? These are the aspects in which social things are based. And in governance aspects, how do we hold ourselves accountable? What are the ethics and how are what amount of transparency is there in the business that goes inside what actually is happening in the company? Is there transparency? Is it put forward? Why is this important? This is important because, as I've said, ESG stands on sustainability. And now, if a company has to survive, it will have to get proper businesses, proper projects. It should be giving value to people. It should be giving value to its customers and clients. And how this is done with the first pillar, environment. Environment is the first pillar, and here we see the ways by which we actually reduce the operational costs through efficiency. It's not a burden, rather it's a benefit. So here we see about how we contribute to the benefit of climate, how we reduce global warming, how we protect our climate, how we convert the waste into value, how emissions are reduced, how this is done on a practical scale. All these aspects are known to everybody, but how practically is it implemented? How we go towards net zero? All these aspects are seen in environment. And we see into this the carbon footprint, resource management, and sustainability. Carbon footprint is how much of carbon is actually emitted by a company. Carbon dioxide emissions, how much is the global warming, how much are the greenhouse gas emissions, and how much is the energy efficiency. These are the aspects in carbon footprint. Resources management, various resources such as water resources, solids, solid waste management, utilization of solid resources, and climate change, emissions. How effectively are we able to control these emissions and properly channelizing them to the benefit of us as well as for the climate, or for the globe, planet? Sustainability, how this actually is done through supply chains by minimizing environmental harm. The next aspect is about the social aspects. So this examines how the employees, suppliers, customers, and communities in a company operate. So this is all about talent, retention, and building trust and brand. So these are the aspects on which social stands on: labor standards, diversity, equity, and inclusion, customer privacy, community relations. So now, labor standards in the sense fair wages given to all its employees, safe working conditions provided, no forced labor. People work with pleasure, people work with more energy, people work with more productivity. This brings about huge benefits in the long run. The next thing is about diversity, equity, and inclusion. How actually are the companies hiring its employees? What is the what are the practices there, and how it is actually represented? Privacy of the customer, data protection, personal rights protection, security, cyber security. Similarly, community relations, local engagement, social impact. What is given to the community? How do we hold ourselves responsible, and how responsive are we to the clients or dealt with in this? The third aspect or the third pillar in ESG is the governance aspect. This is the pillar which says or shows how a company is led, managed, and held accountable, how transparent it is, how strong the principles are, how effectively these principles will take the company in the long run towards success. Is a company running just on personal traits, or is it working on systems, or systems built properly? Will these systems work independently even without a person or the management directly getting involved into it? How effectively is it giving, is it governed? So how effectively is it giving trust for its employees, for its stakeholders? How how much of value addition is given? How much is the this? How much of trust are we able to give for customers? So these are the aspects we are looking into governance. Now, in governance, we see board structure and board diversity and structure. That is, who are the board members, the executive pay, compensation tied to long-term performance. In the sense, the executives are paid not just on one-term hypes or one-term falls. How the employees are able to take the company towards success, how they would be able to lift the company to success in the long run. Are they really able to build the company? Are they able to really build the ecosystem and steer it to success? How are they able to work to take the company towards success? And is the compensation paid to them in those terms? That is the actual metric. Based on that metric is the pay given. Business ethics, policies that are in place, the mechanism that is in place, which would cut down or which would work against corruption and bribery. Transparency, open communication is important, accurate reporting is important. All these aspects, where are they in place or not, are the aspects we would be looking in governance. So all these are in short sustainability. The difference between sustainability and ESG is this: sustainability is a subjective matter. It is about how we are able to take the company towards success in the long run without falling down. A business, the planet, everything. ESG is the metric of it, the measure of it. The numerical value of sustainability is ESG. Environmental, social, governance aspects are a set of mathematical values which we assign to sustainability. Sustainability is theoretical, ESG is mathematical. We assign values to this, we measure it. This is smart. ESG or BRSR. These are smart terms. Sustainability is a broad term. So, how do we actually measure this? How do we assign values to this? How actually do we say or compare two companies and say which one is performing better than the other? These aspects would be discussed in the further sessions and the slides to come. So, in the second part of this session, we'll be looking into what actually drives this ESG and what makes this non-negotiable, what makes ESG mandatory. There are three drivers of ESG. Just as there are three pillars for ESG, the first driver of ESG is money. The second would be the demand, and the third would be compliance. Coming to the first one, the money driver. Money is basically required for any company to survive, thrive. And investors no longer look at the profits and losses or the working alone. They look into the ethics. They look at the ESG score to gauge how much of risk is there in the company. As I have told you, sustainability is not a measure, whereas ESG is a measure. ESG is the metric, numerical value. We can gauge, or investors and bankers would gauge, how much risk is there in the company if it invests into this. An investor would look into this company based on the ESG reports, and he will be able to arrive at conclusive decisions whether this would company would thrive, whether it would collapse, or whether it would collapse. So these metrics which we are going to see and assign in ESG are such important that they would judge, they would foresee. We can forecast a company's performance. We can say whether this company will thrive and prosper in future, or whether the metrics are weak, whether it would stumble down and face difficulties, whether it will not prosper so well. So these metrics are so nicely framed that we can actually foresee a company's prosperity and success. So if this ESG is good, ESG score is good, numerical value, then the capital access will be good. You get nice projects, or you will be able to produce more. If you are requiring any capital money, that you will get easily, right? The second pill, the second driver here is demand, the customer and talent driver. See, for owners and for employees, ESG is important. Customers are voting with their wallets for sustainable brands. There is no shortage of brands. There are several startup companies mushrooming around us. And who do you think will the customer or client prefer amongst all of them? The customer has become aware. The customer wants sustainable products. Customer looks into protecting the planet. Environmental awareness has grown in people. So customers are looking for brands which are environmentally compliant, which are which protects our environment, with companies which save our planet. So they vote, customers vote for the companies which are carrying sustainability brands. They vote with their wallets. And for employees, the top talent, skilled workforce, the younger generations, they always are looking for companies which have good ESG scores, sustainability standards. People are aligning only to companies which align to their values. The younger generation is more environmentally cautious, environmentally aware. So, coming to the third driver, the compliance, the regulator drive, this becomes inevitable. As we all know, ESG has become mandatory in India. SEBI, Securities Exchange Board of India, has mandated that all companies re- prepare their ESG reports and submit it and put it public in their own company websites as well as in SEBI. So the top 1,000 companies are made mandatory to measure their ESG scores, to say how sustainable they are in terms of their metrics, and submit it to the government SEBI. This was not there earlier. Prior to 2020, it was voluntary. Companies might either do ESG reporting or not. But after 2020, this has become mandatory. SEBI has asked them to prepare, and it has made a standard called BRSR, Business Responsibility and Sustainability Reporting. It was priorly in the beginning just BRR, business reporting alone, business responsibility and reporting alone. But now sustainability aspect has come into this business responsibility and sustainability reporting. Now, this BRSR has become the regulatory drive since it has become compliant. It is mandatory. This is made so that we stay in competition globally. We give good work environment to ourselves, to our employees, to the planet, and we contribute good to the whole ecosystem. So, as I've said, the past was not about ESG compliance, but today it is about ESG compliance. The future will be even more. Now, ESG is not about just being good, it's also about being smart. Coming into the business case of this, how can we say that ESG really pays? Is real ESG that important? Yes, these are the four aspects: resilience, capital access, talent magnet, and innovation. That are the reasons why we can say that ESG pays off. If we diligently follow ESG practices, if we really give value to customers, clients, to ourselves, to planet, then we would be able to foresee the risks. We'll be able to spot the risks. Where? In climate, in labor shortages, eventually hit us. We will be able to predict the risks and will be prepared to face them if we are ESG ready. If we become ESG ready, we become more resilient to all these kinds of shortcomings, shortfalls, and risks that might occur in future. Similarly, capital access, investments required for any business, whether given by the people and public, by foreign investors, by domestic investors, or from banks, the access for it becomes better for sustainable companies because that builds a trust. Trust is where the world works on. If you have trust on a person, you would readily, without hesitation, give something. Similarly, if this BRSR report is good, if sustainability reporting is good, if ESG is properly documented and reported, and if its metrics are strong and good, then the access for capital would be easy. You would get investments easy. Talent magnet, the third one. The best employees, skilled employees, would want to work where their values align. The best are all people who have good values. So those people with good values would always work in companies or industries where their talents, their values match. Similarly, innovation. Innovation, research and development is where a company would actually shine. If the R&D is good, if an industry or a sector would prosper and thrive, it would stay in competition. It would be running far before its competitors. It would be winning the race. So, innovation, research, and development is what makes a nation superpower, a superpower. So, it is this ESG aspect that each and every company in our nation should adopt. It has adopted, and this is what would make it strong. This ESG aspect is what would make our country a superpower nation. So solving problems happens only if we understand the underlying situations, how exactly the system works, how what exact gaps are there, what research gaps are there, and how exactly we'll be able to face them and solve the problems, offer solutions to them, and build an ecosystem which would overcome all those difficulties and make our lives happy. This is the goal of all innovation. So this would generate revenue and also improve efficiency, open out new avenues, and make our life more prosperous. So ESG goes a long way in giving us success. Now, the ESG benefits are for employees as well. For an employee who works in a company with strong ESG values, he or she feels proud of the place where she works because he has got a purpose, the company has got a purpose, they are moving forward to a known and definitive goal. This gets aligned, the company's goals and the goals of the employee, they get aligned together and they move together, taking the employee as well as the company together towards success. Future skilling, ESG fluency, knowing the aspects of ESG makes an employee strong. It's an asset. He can thrive anywhere. So ESG will become a common buzzword. It has already become a buzzword. It will even become more stronger. It will penetrate more into the common man in future. Better culture. Strong, sustainable companies have better workplace wellness. Good work culture, good work environment will be there for an employee if he finds himself or places himself into a company which is ESG strong. So for an employee, it is beneficial. For a company, it gives success. For the planet in which this ESG company is placed, this planet feels happy. So it's a benefit win-win situation for all. So ESG is such important. And now, what actually is ESG compared with sustainability? Sustainability is a qualitative term, whereas ESG is a quantitative term. Sustainability tells what, ESG tells how much. It, as I've told you, it gives metrics, it gives numerical values. It's a kind of report card or corporate citizenship. So it is a dashboard which tells how much is its metrics in terms of environment, how much is climate good, how much is the globe being saved, how much is the oceans being cared, or the waste being treated properly before they are discharged, or the work machines, everything being used effectively. Is there efficiency in all of them, or is it just going about without uh, values, without caring for the environment? So all these would be clearly known in the ESG report card. So a ESG company would be able to manage risks better. Climate would not be the same always. We are already facing severe climate extremes, heat extremes, heat waves we are facing now, the El Nino syndrome extremity we are experiencing now, and supply chain breaking, weakening due to wars everywhere around us. This is what we are seeing. So, a company can still stand strong if it has better risk management practices. And these better risk management practices can be built thoroughly and strongly if it has got good ESG. So, a good ESG for a company, for an individual, would make them both manage risk properly and shine in spite of shortcomings that might arise in future, which we can foresee with ESG. Now, the investor demand. Investors would always look into companies which have got strong ESGs. ESG scores better, where institutional money flows into only ESG companies. They would look into ESG reports, BRSR reports. BRSR is India specific, ESG is global. So there are 9 principles which govern this ESG, more specifically this BRSR. What we would be discussing those aspects of principles very clearly in the sessions to come. This is just an introductory session, and I'm just creating an curiosity and interest in you, and an understanding of what basic principles govern ESG, what ESG is all about. So the second aspect here is about investor demand. So institutional investors, domestic or international, foreign investors, they would look into companies which have got good ESG scores. ESGs or reports are prepared, put into public domains, and all these ESGs are scrutinized. A company speaks with its ESG. So investors look into ESG more as much as what they look into a company and its functional aspects. So the investors would take more trust, would invest more trust and as well as their financial investments into a company which has got better ESG scores. Now the third one is about reputation. Brand is built. A brand is built for a strong ESG company. Talent is retained. Skilled employees, skilled workforce stay in the company, and they would take the company to success, an industry to success. An industry is not just about producing products from natural resources or from raw materials. It's about the people who actually do that. So the process which is there and the people who make that happen, these are the aspects of a company. And people actually drive this functioning of a company. And the people should be loyal, people should be strong, skilled. All this would happen only if the company has got a good reputation, established systems with it. ESG makes sure that it is there in the company. So ESG is the success mantra in each and every aspect. Now, we are going to take these sessions for on every Tuesdays and Thursdays for the coming 15 sessions, and it will all be focused on the various ESG aspects and the depths of what these principles which govern this ESG, what environment, how is environment actually measured, how is climate measured, how is water pollution, how is it measured, how the waste are actually measured, how actually is the uh, environment measured, how social aspects are measured, the governance aspects are measured. All this would be dealt with detailedly in the coming sessions. So now we need to understand that in the next week we'll be focusing more on the E pillar, that is the environment pillar. And ESG is not just about being green, it's also about being more prosperous, being more sustainable, being more about saving the resources, saving the money, saving our planet. So we'll be discussing in detail how carbon footprint is actually measured, how it is divided into various scopes, scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3. What are direct emissions, what are indirect emissions, and what are value chain emissions, how they are actually measured, how actually the carbon footprint is calculated, how is a product measured right from its cradle to grave, the life cycle analysis aspects, the circular economy aspects, that is cradle to cradle analysis. All these aspects will be dealt with in detail about environment in the coming session. So there will be even looking into the mitigation aspects, how we can overcome the existing pollutions, how we can bring about more efficiency, how we can tap in renewable energy resources to make our functioning both efficient as well as beneficial in the long run. These are the aspects we'll be discussing there. And also, we'll be seeing how practically we are going to implement this, how we are going to stay or put our targets, set targets on overcoming these drawbacks or the existing. No perfect, no company would be perfect. There would be some um, problem or some shortcoming, and simultaneously it could be strong in some aspects, improving the stronger aspects and overcoming or rectifying the weaker aspects. This is what we'll be doing, and we'll be doing this in a smart way. Smart in the sense specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. This is how our target setting would be on each and every aspect. So smart target setting is what we'll be going to see. And we'll also be able to set a roadmap of how to attain the targets which we have fixed. So taking a company on the environmental aspects, will be measuring the baseline assessments of all aspects related to carbon emissions, related to water pollution, related to solid waste management, related to energy conservation, and other environmental aspects. And we establish a numerical value of environment of ESG, because ESG is all about metrics. We put assign numerical values to it for E. So this we call as baseline assessment, and we do this by taking into consideration various international standards. A lot of work has already a lot of standards conversion factors are already available. So we'll be discussing as to how to utilize those conversion factors, how to convert the known terms of our environmental of our company activities into how we actually translate it into environmental terms, how to make it a numerical value baseline assessment in terms of various scopes of it. That will be the first thing. Mitigation measures, mostly in terms of efficiency improvement, reduction in wastage, renewable energy implementation, and such other things. Target setting, setting a roadmap, actually guiding a company or making a company follow it through various stages which we have already set, through the various landmarks which we have already set, and steer the company and industry towards success. This is what we will be seeing in the next aspect of environment in the coming Thursday session. So now, before going to the end of this, you say this: pick a company you interact with this week and see whether they are acting for the long term or just for this quarter or short term. And see how the company in which you are working or the industry in which you are working fits in, or what aspects of ESG are being followed in your company. Definitely, everybody is working now towards ESG, and you will be surprised to know how much of ESG is already in place in your industry. Having known a few basics of what I've said now, you will be able to relate it to how your company is actually performing. So that would create a base, a curiosity in you to learn more on this in future. So as such, this is not a 15 session, 15 academic sessions. It's going to become a roadmap for building a resilient, profitable, and respected business. We are caring for our environment. We are caring for sustainability. We are going to build an ecosystem that will be a win-win for both the employees, the employers, the industry, the planet, and everyone. So this is bringing from with this, I take this session to a halt here, and I open the floor for discussions. I hope I was able to give you a basic understanding of what this ESG is. And with this, if you have any doubts or clarifications, you can ask me, and I'm here open for answering you or clarifying you for the next 5 minutes. I thank you all wholeheartedly for giving me this opportunity, and for this many number of people attending this webinar session, making this an international event. What started as a national event has ended up in an international event. Participants are there from all over the world for this session, and I'm very thankful to each and every person who has attended this webinar. Open to discussions. Any queries? I'm very happy to see some great personalities here. Good evening, and my namaskarams to Professor Bhishma sir.
Yeah, good evening, good evening, good evening.
Good evening, sir. A renowned professor from Osmania University.
Yeah, yeah,
Director. Thank you very much, sir, for attending my webinar.
yeah. Very interesting.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Okay, so we'll close this section for today. Thank you all. Thank you very much. See you in the next session on Thursday. I'm closing this webinar now. Thank you.